This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report. It is I, your host, Tyler, the Superman in blue, and with me is always that man in red, not Santa Claus, but James, the Superman of red.
Not as jolly. My belly doesn't shake like jelly that much.
Christmas in July, man. We got a couple days left in July.
Yep.
But if you hear some commotion in the background, that's because a certain somebody, as of this recording, has a birthday tomorrow.
Yes, I do.
So, happy birthday, early.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we are looking at Krypton, Season 2, Episode 5, A Better Yesterday. So, James is now our summary guy. We've figured out that he is pretty BA with summaries. So why don't you take us there, Skitch, which is a quote from my all-time favorite movie. So take us there, James.
All right. Season 2, Episode 5, A Better Yesterday. After Seg's somatic reconditioning, he confronts Zod to get into communication with Lyta on Wegthor to reveal to her that she has undergone reconditioning herself. Seg gets the upper hand on General Zod because Zod believes that he is coming to him a new man. On Wegthor, Nyssa returns to the Sagittari and Lyta bearing the Codex. Lyta has released the rebels, minus Chem and Adam, to extend an invitation to Jax and Val to negotiate. Lyta demands a surrender from Jax, resulting in Jax using her laser I-beam to kill Lyta's backup and capture her. Jax contacts Zod to demand he remove his forces from Wegthor under the pain of Lyta's death, as Zod gains the upper hand from Seg at his surprise of Lyta's capture. Zod agrees to remove the Sagittari, and in the commotion, Nyssa frees Adam and Chem. Upon their return, they learn of Zod's lies and stashing his forces underground to ambush the rebels upon Lyta's release. Zod almost kills Seg, but Jaina and Dev, who were there to assassinate Zod, rescue him, and Zod escapes. During their escape, Brainiac guides Seg, keeping him out of danger, to Dev and Jaina's surprise. After learning of Zod's tricks, Jax publicly executes Lyta, broadcast to all of Kandor and the planet of Krypton by slicing her throat.
All right, so I'm going to give you a little spoiler here. I'm not going to wait till the end. I give this episode a 9, maybe even a 9.5. Okay.
All right.
I'm just saying, like, we always like, we're in this vein here, 8. No, this episode is like a 9.5. Okay, I'm just saying it right now because straight from the beginning, when it opens up, it starts with seeing the dead from the tainted oxygenators on the ground, and that is our opening shot. And you just look at the devastation on Jax's face. And immediately, we are in her headspace of just being tricked, being duped, whatever it was. Like, she is just devastated by what she's just witnessed. And then when Seg shows up, Zod's expecting him to be reconditioned and just straight on battling. And I feel Seg gets the upper hand in the battle, which I was like really shocked about, honestly.
Yeah, he gets the upper hand. I mean, kind of catching him by surprise, but he certainly beats him down and disarms him and holds him up at gunpoint for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to we see that Zod had a knife on him, which is kind of interesting, like foreshadowing in the sense of like, it's one of those things like, man, people carry knives in this type of world and society. We don't see very often, but yet Zod has one and then Jax has one. And I can't remember if she takes it off Lyta or not. So
I can't recall that. I can't recall seeing that.
I don't either. So I love the directing in this episode, just the way the scenes are staged. In the scene of Seg confronting Drew, and this how Brainiac appears in and out of the shots. It's just done really, really well. I mean, to me, this is a very cinematic episode of just the way the episode is directed and done itself, but just the stakes of this episode.
Right. The way Brainiac pops in and out is pretty good. Like, there's a point where he's actually like speaking to him like in real time, and Zod notices something. Something's off because he's kind of looking off to the side. He's kind of reacting to stuff that's not there. But then the next time he reveals himself to Seg, he kind of like freezes a moment in time in his head, and goes through this whole thing about he has to kill Zod before Zod kills him, and then he kind of wakes up and he's in that position on the floor.
I kind of take it up to Seg kind of caught him off guard, because like one thing that we've talked about this before, that I have a big problem with in Man of Steel is how Jor-El fights Zod, and looks like he's actually beating him, and it wasn't like Zod was toying with Jor-El, he was actually like fighting, and since the whole purpose of Zod in that film is he's bred to be a soldier and a warrior, and this puny scientist, it's kind of on par with him. That's always kind of one thing that bugged me. But anyways, we shortly see thereafter that Lyta has Kim and Adam, and she's got plans for them. And it's kind of scary. I kind of feel for them what may happen. What do you think?
Well, I mean, definitely, with the way that Lyta's a very different person. Adam's trying to like appeal to her, but she only sees the guy who wanted to convince them to kill Drew, kill her son, who she now has this blind allegiance for, and allow Krypton to be destroyed. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're not in any kind of position to do anything. I mean, the guard who's guarding them says, if we get to kill you, I'm keeping this. Talking about Adam's Zeta beam device.
Which, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, which is then where Nyssa kills the guard and frees Adam and Adam and Kem to return back to Jax and Val.
So,
I mean, yeah, this episode was really good. I mean, like it started right up. It didn't let up at all.
Nyssa's getting, not caught, but like surrounded by guards on the planet.
Yeah, when she returns back to them, she like gets held up and she's trying to convince them who she is until one of the officers, probably, or one of the ranking men comes up and says who she is and, escorts her back into the base.
And that's where, she leaves that the oxygenators were tainted. And he's like, that was you. And she's like, she didn't realize that they were tainted. And then she tries to play it off. Like, it's a really cool scene because he's like, really like, you fed him that. Like, he's like it almost like he's like hesitant of her, and then she's like, yeah, I did it, yeah. And then,
Right. I mean, it almost seemed to me like he was more like, you did it like you gave him the information knowing what was going to happen, and she just kind of like went along with it, although you could see the remorse on her face knowing that so many of these people she knew and was working with died.
Yeah. And then there's Lyda.
Yeah, the actress playing Nissa is doing a really good job this season.
I feel like
really good job emoting.
Everybody's like turned up their game this season.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, they're all working really hard, with 10 episodes this season and a lot of ground to cover. They're all showing up, and they're all bringing their game to play. So, and they're doing really good.
So, I like that we get a really. I feel like there's just some really good, like you're talking about the actors, really good just scenes of intensity. Like each actor has kind of this scene of just the emotional intensity that they can offer, and I like the development of Dev and Jaina. Right.
Yeah. How in this episode, they're devising a plan to go in and assassinate Zod and free Lyda from him.
And Seg's trying to basically contact Lyda so that he can show her that, Drew has done this. And, through that episode, Drew keeps talking about how, it is peaceful. We're going to end it peacefully. We're going to end this war peacefully. Well, you know what? Just because it ends peacefully doesn't mean that it's peace for everyone.
Yeah. He keeps saying that everything that Lyda is doing is her choice. He's like, she made this decision. She went there, she chose to do this. She chose to do that. Like it's all her, but not any of the fact that, she's not thinking like she would, because she's missing parts of who she is. He talks about her feeling guilty for shooting her mother, her pain from losing Seg, and just like, so he talks, he says that they removed things from her, to kind of give her the chance to let go. And Seg's like, you removed parts of who she was. She felt guilty for shooting her mother because you shouldn't have to shoot your mother, and you put her in that position. You forced her to make this choice that gave her so much guilt. You took away her empathy, and she's no longer this person who thinks about other people. In the first season, she did everything she could to stop the loss of life, no matter who it was. Rankless, Sagittari, it didn't matter. She was against, even being a soldier, she was, and killing, she has done. She was against a loss of life if there was any other possible way. And, this season, she talks a game about trying to, not lose lives on both sides, but she's full on. If it's going to be war, then there's going to be major losses of life on both sides. And that's not something she would have really, that struck me as she would really, push for, if she could help it. And she's pushing against it, honestly. I mean, she's giving ultimatums. She's making demands, so she's like, this or you die, basically. So, I mean, it's really not who she was. So she's definitely a different person. And I mean, obviously Zod doesn't see anything wrong with, making his mother a different person.
Well, I mean, Zod's opinion of himself is so high that whatever he does is for the greater good, and it's just one of those things. He doesn't see himself as the villain,
Right.
and he'll never see himself as the villain.
Yeah. And that's what makes him such a good and compelling villain. That's why Michael Shannon was so great, and that's why Colin Salmon is so great in this show. Like, they're standouts for sure. Like, it'll be hard to top these guys. I think we people said that for years about Terrence Stamp, because he was such a maniacal villain. Such a foil for Superman, but they have definitely stepped up the game of the character of Drew Zod.
Yes, they have. I really like the fact that we have this standoff between Val, Jax, and Lyta. And Lyta is so confident that she knows what she's doing and that she has the upper hand. And Val is trying to play peace, and you have Jax, who's a complete wild card, because nobody's realizing what she's willing to do and what she holds. While Val is trying to negotiate, thinking he's talking to somebody, like Jax just snaps. And like you said, Lyta's overconfident, and then bam, Jax releases the laser in her eye and just takes out everybody, and that's how they get to capture Lyta. It's sad because I like Lyta, but I really hate who she is right now.
Right. Well, by the end of this episode, is she dead? She slit her throat. It sure seems like they killed Lyta.
And you know what? Like, we talked about this before. Sometimes for story, it needed to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was like the catalyst of just like a oh crap moment. And I'm watching the scene right now. Just Jax has one eye, and watching her face and the way the camera just slowly moves in and gets to her other eye, and she just loses it and starts just killing everybody. Like, nobody knew that was going to happen, and Lyta is caught off guard, and she just punches her in the face. And you see the rage building in her. Like, I'm really paying attention more to some of these scenes of just the camera work of how much of this is close-ups to really see the actors' intensity in their faces of what scenes they're bringing. And this episode, we have the feeling like, oh, Lyta's okay. She'll make it. He's saved by Dev and Jaina. And I love when Zod throws his knife at Jaina, and Dev catches it, and Zod gets away.
Pretty brilliant strategy on his part, because Jaina wouldn't take the shot to kill Seg, just to take out Zod.
Even though Seg was telling her to.
Yeah. Well, she's definitely got a conscience this season. After what happened last season, after Drew becoming this tyrant and taking over the entire world in the matter of 6 months, and she definitely has a conscience. She knows that if she were to, she wants to help Lyta. She wants to free Lyta, and she wants to free her from how she raised her and how she's working with Zod. So she definitely knows that if she were to, kill Seg in this moment to kill Zod, she's killing her love and her son. And she does, I can see where she would definitely have her reservations on what could possibly happen because of that. But Dev is more worried about taking out Zod. If Lyta hates him or not, he's there to take out Zod.
So I want to say that Seg gave me the best line from this movie or this episode to use every time I get asked a question now. Tyler, when did you get so good at this? Or Tyler, when did you find time to do this? I'm just going to shrug my shoulders and be like, Phantom Zone?
Right.
Like, that is my favorite scene, is when, it's Seg, Jaina, and Dev escaping, and Brainiac's talking to Seg, and he just starts, like, killing every guard that comes in the way and completely catches them off guard. Dev and Jaina are just mesmerized.
Yeah, they play it really good. There's a lot of genuine surprise. Like Seg is dropping all of these guards without them getting a shot off, without there being a fight, and like before they even know what's happening, he's already taken down every guard before they could even turn around. And yeah, so there's genuine surprise and they're certainly like when they turn to see what happens, like, yeah, everything. It was played very well. And Seg was surprised. The surprise on Seg's face from like the control that Brainiac is using to, like, I don't know if it's like him. I got to think it's Brainiac partially in control.
See, I do
guiding Seg.
I do too, because I think in little situations like this, Seg's allowing Brainiac to take control and have a grasp, so that later Brainiac will actually, it's like his way in, so that later as he gains more power, he'll have, he'll already have gained access and permission to Seg in a way,
right?
So that if he wants to take over, he can.
Makes sense.
That's just my.
But yeah, it's definitely pretty wild because he's shooting underneath his arm. He's shooting over his shoulder. Like, he's not even looking, and he's taking out he took out half the guards without even looking at them in their direction.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, it was top notch, just that scene.
So this last part though is hard to watch, just because it is pretty dang sad and intense what they do.
Yeah. So, well, on the way back to the rebels, Adam and Kem, they come across the mine that Kem previously blew when he was with the Sagittari, when he was with Dev. The mine that Dev didn't want to blow, that was full of innocents. They come across the mine, and they register whatever device they have that registers, some sort of, I don't know, X-ray or infrared, some type of device to kind of read what's on the other side of walls and that kind of stuff. And he reads a whole bunch of people, and he recognizes it and he knows it's trouble. And they give it to Jack Soar, and they figure out the whole plan that Zod dressed up rebel prisoners as Sagittari and sent them on the elevator to be decoys as Sagittari being pulled from Wegthor, whereas he had his forces massed underground in a way to, ambush the rebels and catch them off guard.
Which just shows
basically how going against his word.
Exactly how crappy he is. Because everything's about, I would do everything to protect my mother, blah, blah, blah. And he sets her up. And Jax proves her point. But, dude, just the look. Like, you have Dev, Seg, Jaina, Val, all there that want to save her. And in some way, Zod, Drew, wants to save her. And Jax just does it. And it's one of those, she just does it, like, out of just impulse, like, you need to be punished, and she does it, and I don't know, like, it's horrible that she kills her, and it's sad because Lido would not be dead had Zod not reconditioned her, and then yet he still doesn't see himself as the villain or the reason or the problem.
Yeah, he doesn't see himself as the reason she's dead. It's all his fault. I mean, it's her reconditioning, the person she is now, because she's not the person she was before, his war, his decision to try and trick them and still, kill everybody, as it were. he's about dropping bodies of anybody who opposes him, and even Lyda is a calculated risk, as he would put it. Even if she dies, it's still what he desires.
So how would you rate this episode? I already gave you mine. It's your turn.
Yeah, well, it's I've been given all these 8.5. I mean, this is a strong 9. Definitely up there in the strong 9. It could even be a 9.5. Honestly, it's very emotional. Lots of strong moments. Everybody is playing everything so intense. There's a lot of tension in this episode. There's tension between Zod and Seg. There's, Nyssa has her internal conflict. Lyda and Jax and Val. There's a lot going on, and it's paced really well. And then, I mean, just the way it ends, it's emotional. Like I said, it's hard to watch. She cuts her neck and then she drops, and then all you see is Jax's face just scowling, and everybody had to watch because it's being broadcast across the planet, across Kandor and the planet. And yeah, it was a very strong episode. 9.5.
Yes. This is what you would consider your mid-season finale. Like, if you think about it, and just,
for sure,
because we're halfway through the season, this is that moment where we'd be like, oh, and then they'd take a week or two off, and we would be like, no.
Yeah. If they took a break, you'd be like, oh my God, like what just happened? And now I gotta wait.
But yeah, this was a great episode, and I really look forward to the next one because this is a game changer. So
yeah, you can definitely see what's going on. And from promo, Zod's still around, so this is no kill Lyda and Zod disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like in this
established these rules, man. It gets to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know how you can really say what rules apply. I mean, it kind of seemed like maybe, just for sake, say like the Back to the Future rules applied in the first season. And now in this season, it almost seems as maybe like the end game rules apply to time travel. So
they work however we want them to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This works here. This works here. So the end game rules, you just go with it.
Yeah.
But all right, listeners, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. So, James, you know what happened just recently, like last weekend? It was something small. Like it was like a fan event or some sort of gathering of people who have similar interests to us. Have you heard about this thing? I think it's called Comic-Con.
Oh, you mean Comic-Con?
Yeah, Yeah,
it sounds like a fun little gathering I'd like to go to.
It's kind of small. I mean, very, close together, But I guess there was some cool Superman news that came out of Comic-Con.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited about that.
Can I just say that I'm excited that they announced 2 Superman movies? Like 2. Not just 1, 2. And what I think I'm most excited... Okay, so before I get ahead of myself, we're going to get Superman Red Sun, which is awesome. I mean, how could that not be awesome, right?
Right, which is like the one-off comic adaptation that they've done, or that they're doing next year.
Yep. And then we're getting an original. And I'm hoping that it's in continuity, but it just excites me because we haven't had an original Superman movie ever that I can think of. Like, everyone that they've released has some sort of comic basis. So.
Yeah, I mean, you got Superman Doomsday, you got All-Star Superman, you got Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, and Apocalypse.
And then
Superman Unbound.
Which was based off the Brainiac.
Mm-hmm. And then Superman was involved in all the Justice League ones, and those ones were based off of a lot of the New 52 run of Justice League. And then Death and Reign, those are comic book adaptations. Original comic book adaptations, which was nice, which they did a very good job.
So yeah,
just watched those this weekend. I just watched them.
I'm excited. I am excited. Okay, so Red Sun's always been one that's been kind of thrown around and talked about, like, oh, we want to see Red Suns. Can someone please do Red Sun? And you know what? I really like that story. I think it's neat. It's another one of those Superman stories that's a one-off, has a very interesting ending, which we'll wait and talk about when we actually do it, because we'll review the book.
Yes, very twisty.
Before the movie. We thought about doing that back when they were going to do the Red Daughter on Supergirl, but it just didn't quite ever pan out.
I'm glad we didn't, because it really didn't apply.
Yeah. I'm glad we didn't either, just because, like you just stated, it didn't really apply. It was just using basically the idea of the Red Daughter as just, that's all it was just in name. Like, oh, we're using the Red Daughter.
Still makes me wonder if Lex was if when they created the Red Daughter and they announced that it was going to be that influence, if they had any idea that she was just going to be a plot device for Lex in season 4. So, but I'm still disappointed on how she was used and how little she was used. Not how she was used. The way they used her for Lex Luthor's purposes, it worked. It was done well, but she was used so little, and they made such a big deal about the Red Daughter and the Red Sun being inspired by the Red Sun story that we saw so little of her until we saw Lex Luthor, and then she was just a background. She was just a MacGuffin.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes I try to like tether my expectations on things, like. And that kind of segued me to our next big announcement for Crisis. It has been said, though it's still wrapped in somewhat mystery, and I take it with very little, that Brandon Routh will be Superman for Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he's supposed to be the Kingdom Come styled Superman.
That's going to be awesome.
It's exciting, and I'm pumped because on one hand, I'm like, okay, this kind of maybe gives him some closure to get to play Superman the way he wanted, for us to kind of feel renewed for him, since he pretty much got the short end of the stick with playing Superman. Yeah, and Superman Returns.
He was great. He got boxed into being Christopher Reeve's Part 2.
Exactly.
They made a nostalgia film to honor Superman the movie. Pretty much beat for beat. Almost. They just made a nostalgia film, and he got shortchanged. He would have done a great job, I have no doubt. He was boxed in with having to be Chris. He was boxed in because they were trying to make it so much like the original, and then some of the poor scripting. I enjoy the movie. I've actually been contemplating watching it again here recently.
I have, and you know why I have? Is because right now it's summer and the cornfields are growing, and when I drive around here and I see them, I think of that scene. I think of the Smallville scenes from Superman Returns, which are some of my favorite Smallville scenes in a Superman movie. Mm-hmm. And I think of the Clark scene of the young boy running through the cornfield. So I have that kind of going on in my mind when I'm driving around my house.
Right.
So, yeah, I've kind of been in the mood because I really like the cinematography for that movie. Like I like the brightness of it.
Absolutely. The movie is gorgeous. There's no question about that.
And it's something you and I have talked about before, like with Man of Steel. Like, I love the movie, but I do wish there was some more brightness and color in the lighting at times.
Yeah, that is really the only detractor to the movie, in my opinion. is it could have been a little more colorful. It was just so muted, and colors were there, but everything was just muted.
Yeah, exactly. It was, if you ever see behind the scenes photos and stuff, it's a different story. But I'm excited. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but you and I were kind of having this conversation before. I hope they don't try to pull something where Ray is Superman on a different Earth or something like that. Because, we haven't seen an actor play a character on a different Earth and not be the same person. But then, like you pointed out, like we have got to like Earth 38 where there's not certain people. There's not a Cisco. There wasn't a Barry or anything of that Earth.
Yeah, I had we had discussed this via messaging, how and you brought it up that on different Earths, so many that people are a different version of themselves. Like they've just played different versions of themselves. They look alike on different Earths, but we've got things that say that they are different. I mean, with Invasion, when Ray says that Kara looks like his cousin. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know it's a joke alluding to when he played Superman,
right?
But also, I mean, if it's his cousin, then she's not Kryptonian. They don't have Kryptonians on Earth 1, at least currently.
Here's what I've come to think about as I've pondered this. When they first brought in the multiverse, I think the way is thinking about it, like the farther you get from Earth 1, the more things change. Because if you think about Crisis on Earth X, they revealed that there was a 53rd Earth, Earth X.
Right.
And that was like, And then in Elseworlds, when we cut to The Flash, which if anyone wants to argue with me that John Wesley Shipp is a different Flash, all I'm saying is that actor played Henry Allen. Okay. And in a lot of shows, they'll have, an actor that plays the father can be the son grown up. So it can still technically be Barry. You know what I'm saying? He looks like his dad as he grew up.
Right.
And we learned that Jay Garrick, hold on once. And that's all I'm saying about Brandon Routh. Like, I want him to be Superman. I don't want it to be Ray. I don't want, what I'm saying? Something like that. Like, I'm thinking
Ray dressed up as Superman. I definitely want him to be a alternate Earth version of Superman.
I'm going to say Kal-El Superman.
Yes.
Because that Monarch, just like we talked about in the Future's End, where Shazam took over as Superman in a suit that looked a lot like Supergirl season 4 spacesuit. I don't want him to be like in the Lex story in Rebirth where he was Superman. He was calling himself Superman and he had a Superman-inspired Lex suit.
Right.
I don't want something like that. I really, if I want him, if I can have it my way, it would be really...
they would be doing a disservice if they were gonna make him some kind of version like that. Ray be Superman like that, like his Atom suit is now like Superman, like the Lexo suit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I totally
that would be a
agree
big
with you.
disservice.
I'm just not someone who's already like getting my hopes up that he's going to come walking out in the Superman Returns outfit. If he does, he comes out in the Superman Returns outfit, but like he has the black behind the S, and he's got like they really grayed up the hair on the sides, and he looks like that. I'll be excited. I'll be so happy.
Oh yeah, I'd be stoked.
I'm just not getting my like this is what's going to happen, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had a shot, like even if it's like a digital like creation because they couldn't get all the actors together of just like Brandon, like Tyler Hoechlin next to Brandon Routh, next to Dean Cain, next to Tom Welling, all in Superman suits, I could die a happy man.
That would be fantastic. Oh my God.
Like if they were just like, hey, we're going to film like just all this, like even if it was a shot of like, in, was it season 1 of Flash, where he's running at the end and he's like in the Speed Force tunnel, and as he's running he sees the Flash Museum, he sees the Legends, he sees Supergirl,
right?
Like even if it's something like that.
Let's definitely make this known that this isn't going to happen. This is a hope that we have, not an expectation.
Yeah,
that we're gonna see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if that happened, like, could you just imagine, like, just the utter joy of the world? But you know what I'm saying?
Dude, people would freak out. Everybody would love it. Like, people would be on the side of the CW like, this is the best shared universe ever.
They're like, Marvel who? You know? Like,
right?
I mean, and if they could just get, like, I mean, all you could do is if you could just get to do something just like that, like a wink, just get the actors in front of a green screen to just like walk and strike a pose or something, and then you could composite it digitally. Since you're not really making a huge scene, you're just kind of creating kind of something like a vision of like all the Supermans of different eras, multiverse stuff.
Hey man, that's how they shot the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of different shots compiled together.
Exactly. It was at the bottom. It just says this scene brought to you by Peter Jackson.
Right.
But no,
so I mean, we were talking about the multiverse, and I just want to be, I want to be like. We know that they've done it for budgetary reasons to see these actors portray different versions of themselves on different Earths. But, we know as comic book fans that if they're going all out with this, and hopefully they are, we've got different Earths have like the same characters as different versions of themselves, but they also have different characters on different Earths being the same person, like the president. Is his name Ellis?
Yeah, Calvin Ellis.
Like Earth 20, Calvin Ellis on Earth 23, I believe.
That was one of the names I tried to get.
Superman.
I tried to get Junia when we were trying to talk about names for Solomon. Calvin Ellis.
That's a multiverse figure I want. That's one of the Superman multiverse figures I needed to get.
I have a whole shopping cart on Amazon that's just called Super Figures.
Nice.
That's just like a wish list. I mean, yeah, that was one of the names I tried to convince Junia to name before you settled on Solomon was Calvin Ellis.
That might be a way around, like Nicolas Cage got away with Kal-El, but that might be a way around being able to name your kid Cal by calling him Calvin.
Yep. And then I don't think I've ever told you this.
I'm gonna have to remember that.
Before we lost our first and second child, not to get all downer here. Okay. We had an agreement. If it was a girl, we were going to name her Feora.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had Junia convinced, and we were on board, and that was kind of like one of the working names. And then after we lost it, we didn't want to tie anything to the past, so that when we eventually found out we were having a girl with Selah, we wanted something new, something that was her. So, yeah. But at one point in time, I could have had a daughter named Feora. Oh,
nice. Just a real quick side on that. When Tanya was pregnant with Jimmy, I wanted to name him Oliver James.
Nice.
And they were like, Oliver Queen, yeah, that kind of has something to do with it. But I also loved the story of Oliver growing up and Oliver and Company. Like, I've always liked the name Oliver.
Yep.
And I wanted to name him Oliver James, and different things got tossed around, and we ended up settling on James Robert Cole IV, and she started doing his little baby book.
Yeah.
And she did the little scrapbooking on the front, and put the name on there and everything. And then she's like, you know what? I like the name Oliver James. Like, oh, you couldn't come around to it two and a half months ago.
You're like, where are you going? Going to the courthouse. We're going to go change his name. Like, let's go. Like, what?
Right.
Like, yeah, we're going to go change our child's name right now. You just said you like it. I'm not wasting time.
Right.
But, it's one of those, like, I wanted to do, Dean was one, for Dean Cain, James Dean, Dean Martin, and then Dean Winchester. And that was
awesome.
That was in that early phase of names before we lost our child. And our second child was actually the predicted birth date was going to be like the release of Man of Steel. So I told her if our child was born on the day Man of Steel came out, you should let me name him Kal-El. And then things happen. But that was just a down memory bummer lane. But it's cool. I'm good. I'm not sad. I just thought it was cool. Like we had some names, and I love my children's names. I think it's perfect for who they are. So, but back to Superman. That's about it for Comic-Con. And this is just we're trying to keep it Superman related.
Yeah.
The other thing is
in the super news.
Yeah, and the other thing is Titans. Since we're going to have Superboy and Crypto appear, Titans season 2 drops September 6th, which I love that they. I love that they held that. Like, I'm really at the point now. I don't want to know when stuff comes out till it's closer. So I'm really become a huge fan of this is coming out now. Boom, there it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, September, that gives me a month, to kind of.
Right. That's why I'm kind of glad about the movies and stuff. Them deciding to not do any marketing until 6 months out.
Yeah.
None of this year, 2, 3 years out.
I mean, we were burned bad with BVS. Like, it just.
Yeah, I think that was a large detractor from it. People expected so much because they saw everything.
Yes.
And then when it came out compiled and even cut down from what it should have been, that detracted from it a whole lot. I'm sure.
This is my last thing, and we'll leave it. Man of Steel came out in June.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Comic-Con was in July. BVS was announced in July. And then Affleck was announced, I think, in August, September as being Batman. And then before that year was up, we already had Gal cast as Wonder Woman. And then that spring, we already had photos coming out of them in the costumes, and shooting had begun. So, and originally it was supposed to come out in 2015. That didn't happen. So just think about that. 2013, we're already getting all this casting, all this stuff, and we're still 3 years out from the actual release of the movie. I just remember Junia getting pregnant and realizing Solomon will be born and a year old before that movie came out, and I started waiting for it and learning about it before he was even conceived. So,
oh man,
you know what I'm saying?
Right? That's crazy.
It is crazy to think about, like, how much from the moment Man of Steel happened to when BVS happened, how much my life had changed.
All right. So the last thing I want to say on our Comic-Con news here, we just brought up, there's no information besides the Man of Tomorrow being a prequel. So it's going to be really cool to see like an early version of this Superman, like before Justice League War. We get to see him before what is out now and in continuity. And hopefully it is in continuity. I imagine it would be.
I do too.
Just like it seems. I haven't seen the first look yet for Wonder Woman Bloodlines, but it's supposed to be in continuity.
Yes.
And it's a prequel.
Yes.
To show some of that. So hopefully it's in that same vein. And, I'm totally stoked. I love the DC animated movies. I have every single one of them, and I will continue to buy them as long as they keep making them. And 2 Superman movies next year. Bring it on.
Yeah, I agree. And I as well will continue to buy them and own them, because I am not a fan of relying on people like, well, it's on DC Universe at the moment. Like, I want to watch Batman Bad Blood. It's not on DC Universe right now, but you know what it is?
Is it not?
Nope.
They took it off? Wow.
Nope, because they rotate them every month. They drop stuff and add stuff, just like every other streaming service.
That's why I buy the Blu-ray, DVD. The animation, you don't really need the 4K. There's nothing.
You don't.
There's nothing added for it. I buy the Blu-ray, DVD, digital combo pack. So I get my digital library that I can watch anytime, anywhere I want, and I have the physical media at home. God forbid you lose the internet and can still watch it.
I agree. And I will say with the 4K, I bought Death of Superman on 4K just because right around the times when I got my 4K player, it doesn't really look any different in the animation than the Blu-ray. Like, I can tell on regular movies. Like, I have Aquaman on 4K. I can tell, but not for animation. So I only have 2 of them in 4K. I have Death and Rain because we don't have to get super in depth, but just we can.
Yeah, basically. I mean, for the most part, because the trailers were very, very little this and that. I mean, the only thing we know about like Arrow is Oliver and Black Canary or Laurel are getting new costumes, which look pretty good. The Flash, we got Bloodwork as the villain,
which I know absolutely nothing about, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's basically that. It's a mention like things that we know are coming. Something about Sarah getting a magical illness and getting powers in Legends. We already discussed Supergirl. Nothing really that I know of. Oh, Hush is supposed to be in Batgirl.
Yep.
And then nothing for Black Lightning. There was really no reveal of anything. I think Lightning is supposed to get a suit. I don't know if she got it in the second season. I just started it on Netflix, so I got to catch up. But yeah, that's about it for CW TV. And then, I mean, have you watched you watched the trailer for Harley Quinn, right?
Yep.
That thing looks so hilarious.
Yeah, it looks like a good time.
I want to watch it with Bella because she watched the New York City Comic Con trailer when it came out, and she loves it. And then I let her watch this trailer, and I knew from this trailer, I'm like, this is gonna be iffy. And I told her, I was like, I have to watch this first. But I heard that there's about 21 F-bombs in the first episode.
Jeez. I mean, I'm gonna watch. If there is that many,
That's gonna be hard to watch. Just
like
of that. It was a lot in Doom Patrol.
Yeah, and Doom Patrol being live action and longer, but like if you think about that, that's like one a minute.
Yeah, if it's a 30 give or take minute animated episode, like that's going to be excessive. If it's like that, I don't think I could let her watch it.
I don't even think I would want to watch it really, because then I feel like it won't even be fun. But because then you're just overdoing it just because you can.
Right. I mean, it's supposed to be the most mature and immature, off the wall animated series. Like it is an adult cartoon. Like it's for the fans of Family Guy and Seth MacFarlane stuff and like Bob's Burgers and Simpsons and I mean it's definitely for a different audience.
We didn't get anything about Stargirl, did we?
No. Last I had heard, production was pushed back. Some sort. I don't know what the issue was or is. Maybe it's just the production of the time period and the JSA. I don't know, but I think that's probably why they with the loss of 3 episodes of Swamp Thing, stretching out Young Justice with 1 episode per week and dropping Titans season 2 in September and Harley Quinn in October. Hopefully Stargirl will come before Doom Patrol season 2. Hopefully we get Stargirl and then Doom Patrol season 2 and see where we go from there. Cause we got,
but all right, let's get back to Krypton.
Back across the galaxy and 200 years ago.
Oh, we landed on Wake Thor. So now we're in Krypton season 2, episode 6, In Zod We Trust. I love how much they play on any kind of thing with God, with Zod, like kind of like in Grodd We Trust, or Grodd and everything that we get from the Flash with I get it, Grodd. It sounds like God. I see what you did there. So this episode picks up right where the last one left, with everyone still just losing their mind, staring at the death of Lyta. And do you have a summary? Oh, great, James.
Yes, I do. So with Lyta dead, Val seizes control of the rebellion from Jax-Ur. Nyssa returns to Kandor via the space elevator and is to be killed as soon as the codex is revealed and to be delivered to Zod. Zod demands Jax-Ur for the death of for the execution of Lyta, or he will decimate Wegthor and everyone on it, no matter their allegiance. Seg, Dev, and Jaina rescue Nyssa before she's killed and the codex stolen from her. Zod has a weapon created that can penetrate an underground bunker made of promethium. Nyssa walks into Zod's chamber with the codex as a plan from Seg to get Korvax and deliver a corrupt codex to Zod. Zod propositions Nyssa to join him as he plans to destroy the rebellion. Nyssa escapes with Seg and Kor. Jax has escaped her cell and taken gravity bombs to the space elevator base to destroy it. During a crash in the damaged skimmer, Seg gives Brainiac control of his body to save them from a fatal crash. With the space elevator base rigged to blow, Val decides to blow it up to cut off General Zod's Sagittari from supplies and reinforcements. Brainiac tells Seg that they can't defeat Zod, the best military mind that Krypton has ever created, without him. Seg, reluctant to give control and accept help from Brainiac, gets a promise from Brainiac that he will leave Krypton after the defeat of Zod. Seg tells Nyssa that Brainiac is alive in him, and she is the only one that he can trust. Zod takes his newly developed weapon after finding out the Codex has been corrupted. The weapon is a Codex weapon that he is seemingly using to come face to face with Doomsday.
All right. I think these summaries really help our discussions, So we've done the past few episodes, and I've really dug it because it kind of quick so we can kind of jump around like we do, but we have an idea where we're going at the same time. Man, did you think when Nyssa got Korvax and she walks over and just falls, I was like, oh, Back to the Future style, because I was like, that's pretty awesome.
I'm sorry, when Nyssa what?
When she walks to the edge with Kor and she just falls off. And Seg's right there with the skimmer. I was like,
right, like a Back to the Future 2 escape.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Which, speaking of, that force field window is pretty awesome. Like, kind of just thought it was like a balcony or something. But it's like a force field window because General Zod slams a guy into it who gives him a bad report, which he does not care for, right after Lyta has been broadcast, right after Lyta's execution has been broadcast, and he shuts off the window and tells him that he needs to go look and see if her execution is still being repeatedly broadcast to the public, and throws him off the balcony.
Yeah, note to self, don't give someone bad news after their mother was murdered. Just gonna suggest that to you, buddy. If you're ever in a position of, importance or anything, don't tell them, hey, your mom's dead. It's not gonna work out well for anybody.
No, I don't think so.
But this episode, I told you before, I liked where it picks up. I love the scene of Seg screaming, because I'm a big fan of having somebody screaming and emoting, but then cutting the sound.
Yeah,
So
the muted scene that they had at the beginning. They opened up and everybody is stunned. Everything's silent, and you can see the emotion on Seg's face and Jaina and Dev. And then when they kind of make their way out of the public area, Seg breaks down, and he just gives a heart-wrenching scream.
And I mean, I think it's more powerful that way. And I've just always been a fan of that style of imagery.
Well, especially, it works really well. Anytime it's done, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It works really well if it was like a movie. Say they would have done that if they would have done that after Superman snapped Zod's neck in Man of Steel. Everybody would have felt that as same thing. They would have felt it as strongly inaudible like that as they did with Henry's scream.
I think
but it's very impactful coming back from an episode after you end an episode with that, and you come back, and that's the first thing you get is just an inaudible reaction like that. It was really strong coming back like that. It worked. I think it works best like that.
I agree. I think it's a balancing act. Like either do it silent with music playing, or do the audio with no music. Don't have like the orchestration as you're screaming. Either have just that like pull, like if you're doing your sound edit, just pull that scream to the front and mute everything else.
Right.
Or just have everything muted and the music playing. I think it's cool. The scene works because in that scene we see Seg release his emotion. Everyone else is kind of tightened up, and then at the end you see Jaina lose it, and her. Yeah,
first you get Seg
have a really good moment of emotion together.
Yeah. First you get Seg in his breakdown, and then shortly after you get Dev and his sort of breakdown where he's blaming himself for Lyta being there because he let her go. He didn't fight to bring her back. He let her go and devote herself to Zod, which he couldn't have known, and he couldn't have known this was going to happen. I mean, he could have guessed, but he couldn't have known that this was going to happen.
No,
but also,
he said he
didn't
saw
know
a sign. It's one of those things like I saw something. You at the time you don't think about it, you don't really put it in perspective.
Yeah,
and then when you
but he also didn't know about the somatic reconditioning either of her. So, even if he would have tried to fight, it would have been fight and help her. Mm-hmm. It would have been just a futile fight for him because she's not the same person. Her blind devotion is partly programmed into her now. Mm-hmm. Or was.
And it's just sad because it's
because they actually killed her.
Yeah, everybody wants to have some role in. It's my fault she's dead.
Yeah, and then we get that, like you said, Jaina and her breakdown. She breaks down crying over her daughter's death, which was a pretty strong scene. Her and Dev have a very nice relationship, coming from a different part, like him being Lyta's ex-betrothed, but also standing in the same place, having his same place in the world as Jaina. They have a strong connection. And Dev from last season, that actor is doing a really good job this season. Yes. Last season he did a good job with what he was given, but he was also kind of given he was the Sagittari, he was the military man, and that was his position. Yeah, he was a soldier. That was his position, and then he was controlled by Brainiac, and then that was his position. So he was kind of stunted in one way or another, you know what I mean? He was stuck on the soldier path, and then he was stuck in the controlled path. In this season, he's got a mind of his own, and he's a lot better off. He's a really good character. He has emotion, I'm liking him better this season, them giving him the room to grow.
And I agree. I am too. He was one of those characters in the first season I could care less for, and this one I'm actually liking where he's going. And
right, the way he was killed off. I mean, even supposedly killed off, even though it was an emotional thing because he had a personal connection to them. It was just kind of okay, well now Dev's gone, move on. Now, if you were to die now, it'd be it would definitely have more of an emotional gut punch.
Yes, it would. It definitely would. There's no doubt about it. No question.
So while we're running with Dev, that's Seg and Dev put together, I guess. While we're running with
Diggle, it's like Diggle.
Right. While we're running with Seg, Dev, and Jaina, they rescue Nyssa. Dev hears the radio chatter basically about the package. Nyssa's not the package, what she's carrying is. They know that she's going to be killed, and they rescue her and their plan to save Korvax. Mm-hmm. We discussed the escape real quick, but was pretty cool how she came in and she came to Zod with the Codex locked up. She got Core, and she started separating herself from Zod, walking away, creating some distance as she unlocks the Codex.
Yep.
So she has that plan. So she has that, that plan and that room for escape.
Well, I mean, think about how like the Sagittari that were escorting her were basically going to take advantage of her or murder her. Like, it was kind of a creepy scene.
Yeah, they did not make no bones about that. They were like that. Those were some dark, dirty individuals.
Yeah, and she kills them both and then starts to run away, and
this is pretty BA,
And then that's when we learn that the people that she thinks she starts to run from too is Dev and Jaina, and it's awesome. It was a great scene.
What was it? Was it that I only got to watch it once, so I didn't get a chance to see it again.
Yeah, she saw more troops coming, and she takes off running, and then looks back, and it's Dev and Jaina, but she doesn't figure that out till Seg captures her, and then
she runs into Seg, and then the Sagittari
come around, and
the
mask open, and it's Devin.
All right, I could see that they kind of chased her into the arms of Seg. I could see that,
and it was cool.
Yeah.
And, I like Nyssa, but man, I don't know what to make of her sometimes and where they're going to go with her and what she's going to do. And
yeah, without Lyta, the only person that Seg has emotionally close to him is Nyssa now.
And she makes a point to Jaina about, they didn't see eye to eye, but she respected her daughter.
Yeah. What did you think of the scene where they were crashing and he gave that control to Brainiac to repair the ship in mid crash so that they wouldn't die?
And that it was awesome, but that's like we were talking about. It's another way that Brainiac finds ways to allow me to help you or allow me to take over, allow us just each time gaining more ground, gaining more of Seg, and then Seg relying on him so that when the time comes, he'll feel the need, I need Brainiac. I can't do this without him. We need him. And that's kind of where they are at the end of this. If you think about it, we are in the latter half of this season now.
Yeah, this is episode 6. We're on the downslope now.
So we had our mid-season, which was the death of Lyta, and now we're picking up the pieces from there and going forward. Not a whole lot happened. Val. So let's jump. Like you said, Val takes over leadership, and they basically put Jax and loyalists in the cell. Jax has a good conversation with Val about, I didn't want you to have to get blood on your hands. You're going to have to do this now. Is Val, he's more of the moral compass. I look at Val, he is kind of like the advisor. If you were a ruler, if you were the king or something, or the ruler, Jax and Val would be on your advisor staff.
Right. Your strategist and your moral compass.
Yes. And now, I don't think them two trying to lead together was good, but had its faults and problems. And now Val's going to try to lead, and Val wants peace, but he's going up against an extremely smart military man, and I don't think he's going to do a great job. And Jax basically escapes, and Val can't hand her over to Zod. So basically, he fulfills the plan that she had of blowing up the bridge.
Stop it.
And that's where it ends. Val blows the bridge up, which now makes them stranded on Wake Thor.
Kind of seems that way.
So let me get this straight. They're stranded on a moon that needs resources and supplies, like oxygenation. I just feel
it kind of seems like the mines are probably equipped to be able to live in.
Mm-hmm.
But to traverse the surface, you need the oxygenators and things like that. So, they at least cut off because Jax pleads with Val after she has the base rigged to blow. She pleads with Val that the base needs to explode. We don't have the resources or the manpower to hold our place in the mines with the Sagittari that are still on planet. We don't have the manpower to hold our base in the mines and hold the space base. So we have to choose one or the other. You can't do both.
Mm-hmm.
So as a strategist, she gets through to Val, and that's what convinces Val to blow up the space base. But when he takes control of the resistance, the rebellion from her, I say that was the most powerful speech that Val has given yet this season.
Yes.
We talked about how the first one, it was just it was meant to be empowering and strong, you know what I mean? And it meant more to the rebels than it came across on screen. But this one, taking it from her, saying that she's become like him, that, her morality is compromised, and it was a really good speech, and he pulled everybody to his side, and seized control, took her position, imprisoned her, took her laser eye.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I needed kind of like an Idris Elba from Pacific Rims, we're canceling the apocalypse type thing. So that's a speech right there.
Yeah, it is. There are a few movies. That's the number one that always comes up. There's a few movies where there's a very strong, empowering speech. You go back to Braveheart. There's the strong speech there. Independence Day. From Bill Paxton in that, and it's Idris Elba is definitely up there with some of the most motivational and heart-stopping speeches.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those yes, I will follow you to my death.
Right.
But I mean that about
except for the very end of this episode, we get Zod in the Outlands with the weapon, the Codex weapon. We find out that he is going after Doomsday. Apparently, he's probably trying to capture Doomsday. I mean, you can't kill him, as we as fans know. I mean, you can kill him, but he comes back.
So the next episode, I know Solo's excited to see Doomsday.
Yeah, I mean, from the promo, it looks freaking fantastic to see this adapted history of Doomsday's creation, and then it looks to be like he may be successful in capturing Doomsday and sending him to Wegthor. I mean, perhaps without the space elevator, it's Doomsday. So, if he even just takes a ship and crashes it on the planet, that unleashes Doomsday on Wegthor.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Zod having his scientists work on yellow sun, solar radiation.
He knows the effects.
Exactly. And that way, when it comes time, all of a sudden he just is powerful and catches everybody off guard.
That would be pretty cool.
You know what I'm saying? And Adam's the only one that can figure out how to stop him. So I just think that'd be awesome. Someone needs some power. So that's all I'm saying.
Right. So we see from the season 2 trailer back before the season premiered, a scene of Doomsday running through what seemed to be a cave. I'm guessing that's what we're gonna see coming up is that scene in this episode, because he's staring Doomsday face to face down just a little cavern with his gun pointed at him, with his weapon pointed at him. So I think that's where we're going to open up in the next episode, which I can't wait to watch. I'm going to definitely check that out. I'm going to try and watch that one live. I don't want to wait.
Yeah, I'm going to try to, but it's tonight.
10 p.m. tonight.
That means we need to make sure we're done with our other podcast. All right. We'll talk off mic. What would you rate this episode?
I mean, pick up from last week. Lots of emotion. I mean, little less intensity here or there for certain things, progressing the story forward, finding Doomsday. We're going to be moving forward on that. You get the intensity from Zod, and the emotional moments from Seg and Jaina and Dev. I mean, just a smidge less than last week's, but still good. I give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna for this one I'm gonna fall into the 8.5. So this whole season's been really good. This is like last season was good, but like we said, it took about halfway through to find its footing, and that we understand why. You retreading all that, but this is like the season. If I wanted to like tell somebody to check out Krypton, I'm like, season 2, that's where it's at.
Yeah,
and I feel like they don't
like. There's only a little bit you need to know. Like, there's only a little bit you need to know from season 1 to be into this season. To know where everybody comes from and where everybody's at. But yeah, this is definitely the season. But they're only 10 episode seasons, so you're like, watch season 1. The first half is kind of slow, but it picks up. The last half is really good. And then you got season 2, which picked up from there and just, hit the ground running. And it was really good the entire way.
Mm-hmm.
So, even the first half of the season, it's not a waste of your time.
All right. Well, that wraps up our discussion. Let us know what you think. Hit us up. And until next time, remember,
look up in the sky.
If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal, log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep Southgate running.